Belyo.
Mr. President, nandito po ako.
Kaya nga.
Lumalabas daw yung mukha mo.
Andito po ako sa Isabela, Mr. President. Kasi we are organizing yung Regional Development Council of the Balik Probinsya, Bagong Pag-asa, Mr. President.
Yung ba talaga totoo?
Opo, opo, Mr. President. But meron po kaming ready report, Mr. President, because yung binigay niyong pondo sa amin, download ko na lahat po, Mr. President, and the start of work will be this Friday, and we will start paying out as early as November 15 up to November 20, Mr. President. And focus kami doon sa hardest hit na areas like Region 5, Region 4A and Region 4B, Mr. President. Kasi doon kailangan nila yung mga emergency employment.
But may tanong ko lang, there is isigoy ko. Yung assistant may I give you so many billions to give to the workers by way of assistance. Have you started to deliver it to the beneficiaries?
Yes, Mr. President. Ang payout namin will be at the latest November 15, Mr. President. Including yung binigay nyo pong 1 billion sa CHED na para sa mga anak ng mga displaced overseas workers. We were able to enter into a memorandum of agreement with CHED. Sila po ang may pundo, ibibigay sa amin para ibibigay namin sa mga anak na mga OFWs na displaced at the rate of 30,000 per child, Mr. President. Kasi we are targeting 30,000 scholars, Mr. President.
That's good. Matanong lang because, marami rin nagtatanong dito. On my end, I get to give answers to questions which sometimes I have no knowledge of. So, tinatanong na kita ngayon, if this thing closes up, then I would know what to answer. Pero I hope it would be completed on time. Yung assistance both ngayon ang payout na is November 15.
November 15 ng Mr. President, ang start ng payout, Mr. President. Pero yung binigay nyo pong 5 billion, Mr. President, para sa mga OFWs, tuloy-tuloy na po, Mr. President. And as per our report this morning, we were already able to pay out 3.1 billion. Pero meron pa tayong naiwan and hopefully may distribute pa namin yun, Mr. President.
What I'm really driving at is I want the money in the hands of the beneficiaries by Christmas time.
Before that, Mr. President, November 20 ang payout namin, Mr. President.
Sana dumating sa kanila para Pasko. Napakahirap ang buhay ngayon. At least kung may tulong tayo ng konti, ibigay na natin. So I remember giving you so many billions. Wala naman akong wala akong masabi except that it should reach to the hands of the beneficiaries by Christmas time at least. December, may panggastos sa mga tao. Yun lang naman.
Opo, Mr. President. We will make sure na they get their benefits at the latest, Mr. President, November 20.
But, alam mo, I do not want to offend you.
Opo.
Pero hindi ikaw ang dapat dito si Halad. So, the earlier you disappear from the screen, the better. Kasi si Halad naghihintay na.
Ganun ba, Mr. President? Akala ko ako tinawag niyo, Mr. President. Sorry po. Yung sa Halad.
Hindi mo pa panahon. Si- General Halad,
Good evening, Mr. President, as well as to our cabinet secretaries and other officials. I will brief on the monitored effects of Super Typhoon Rolly, our preparedness and disaster response operations. Some of what I will be presenting were already explained in detail by our cabinet secretaries who spoke earlier. And so this presentation will provide an overview of the effects and actions of the national government agencies who are members of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Next slide, please. So, a total of 12 regions were exposed or being affected by, or were affected by Typhoon Rolly. The total of affected population is 372,716 families, or 1,468,296 individuals. As of the latest report, there are currently 11 reported deaths and 2 injuries. These are from Albay, 9 dead, Catanduanes, 1, and Rizal, 1. While the reported injured are from Sorsogon and Quezon with 1 each. Assessment is still ongoing for the cost of damages. However, we are expecting major damages to agriculture, housing, and power sectors, and other infrastructures like roads, bridges, and flood controls. Other effects monitored are as shown. A total of 19 road sections and 4 bridges were affected by flooding, landslide, and uprooted trees and fallen utility posts in Region 2, 3, Calabarzon, Region 5, and Cordillera. 114 cities, municipalities and cities in Region 5 are now experiencing water interruption, supply of water interruption, supply of water. Around 46 municipalities and cities in regions Calabarzon, Mimaropa, and Region 5 have experienced communications network interruption, and also 147 municipalities and cities in regions Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 5, and 8 are experiencing water interruption or outages. Here is a short video showing the flooding incident in Uwas Albay. In Bicol region, there were reported lahar flow in Albay. The affected localities are Tabaco, Santo Domingo, Camalig, and Ginubatan. Further, around 55,515 partially damaged and 20,661 totally damaged houses were reported in the Bicol region. Now on our preparedness measures for Super Typhoon Rolly. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Operations Center sent out 41 emergency alert and warning messages to the public. This is the kind of message that were sent by the telcos to all their subscribers in the areas we identified. And these messages has with it unique ringtones, different from the ordinary ringtones for SMS and calls. The kind of advisories released were typhoon warning, rainfall warning, storm surge warning, and gale force warning. We also conducted pre-disaster risk assessment meetings and emergency meetings attended by Pag-asa, who brief us on the update on the typhoon, as well as the other agencies that are involved in disaster response operations and preparedness. Together also with our Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, who also made sure that the local DRM councils are also carrying out their preparedness meetings. we activated a physical and virtual emergency operation center in the NDRRMC and the regional disaster risk reduction and management councils affected by Super Typhoon Rolly. And now just briefly on the preparedness measures of the different agencies. The ILG issued the activation of operations list, which highlights the preemptive evacuation that has to be conducted by the local government units. And on our response efforts, the Philippine Coast Guard assisted in the deployment of some of our personnel in Catanduanes. They also provided the support to stranded individuals. The Bureau of Fire Protection provided rescue support to various affected local government units. The SWD is supplying the affected population with family food packs, and we are coordinating for the dispatch of a C-130 flight tomorrow to deliver additional family food packs for the Bicol region. DepEd reported the use of 1,077 schools with 5,404 classrooms as evacuation centers in Region 1, 2, 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 5, 8, and the NCR region. The PNP placed on standby 18,905 personnel for search and rescue, as well as providing security in evacuation centers and making sure the law and order is maintained. The Department of Energy activated Power Restoration Rapid Deployment Task Force, or PRRD, Task Force Kapatid, to facilitate the rapid restoration of power in affected areas. Currently, situation assessment and coordination are being undertaken in order for the DOE to facilitate the deployment of teams under the task force who are composed mostly of personnel from unaffected electric cooperatives. The DICT has provided assistance through the availability of communication assets as shown: satellite phones, VHF radio, and VSAT, as well as generator sets to power those equipment. And the DPWH conducted immediate clearing of affected roads and bridges. Organized the Oplan Rolly logistics operations, and we have the following assets for our use: 8 aircraft from the Armed Forces of the Philippines, as well as 66 watercraft from the AFP and other units like the Coast Guard, VFP, and MMDA, and 40 land transportation assets. This morning, Mr. President, the Office of Civil Defense deployed an emergency telecommunications team to Catanduanes, and with the use of VSAT, we were able to establish contact with the local government unit of Catanduanes. Deployed in Catanduanes also are personnel from the Philippine Army being led by Brigadier General Adonis Bahao. And shown are some of the damages in Catanduanes taken by our team deployed there at the airport in Virac, as well as the streets. And based on our discussion with the governor and of Catanduanes and the report of our team thereat, here is our initial assessment. As reported by the governor, there is already 5 deaths in the province and 4 injured. around 15,000 families were affected. 10,000 houses were totally damaged, while 3,000 were partially damaged. They have no water. The water district has no, because of the lack of power supply, is not operating, and the water supply is only from the deep wells. And initial cost of damage to agriculture is about 600 million, 400 from their abaca, and for other crops is 200 million. Electricity and the telco service is likewise down. And shown are the immediate needs that was gathered. Supply of food for the evacuees. They only have 8,000 family food packs available. The governor is also requesting for GI sheets for the damaged houses and immediate supply of potable water, and we are considering the inclusion of bottled water to be delivered tomorrow. The restoration of communication and electricity, but this is already going to be addressed by DOE as well as by the telcos, Globe and Smart. They also have a concern on their transportation, and the governor is requesting for the resumption of ferry boat services between Catanduanes and the mainland of Bicol region. Now for our next steps or way ahead. As mentioned, we will be delivering family food packs to Catanduanes and Albay tomorrow, and we likewise will be deploying augmentation teams to conduct a rapid damage and needs assessment in Catanduanes. Likewise, may I also mention that we need to sustain the augmentation of resources to support the needs of those evacuees who will be staying for a longer period of time because of the damages to their houses. Also the provision of financial assistance like emergency shelter assistance by the DSUD or Department of Human Settlements and Urban Development, and other assistance like the assistance to farmers by the Department of Agriculture. And lastly, Mr. President, although this will come in maybe 2 weeks, the planning for the rehabilitation and recovery to be led by OCD and NEDA, but to be participated by all the other members of the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, first with a post-disaster need assessment and then the workshop to develop the rehabilitation and recovery plan. And in the RRP, the PPAs or projects, programs, and activities will be identified, as well as the funding requirements and the sources of funds for the rehabilitation and recovery of those areas affected by Super Typhoon Rolly. That's all, Mr. President. Thank you and good evening.
John Halad, I have a question for you. Yung bang sinabi mo lugar na the water works broke down, is there an ongoing repair or is things in the doldrums rather? Inaayos na ba ito? Walang mainom ang tao na tubig o hanggang ngayon ganun pa rin?
Actually, that was mentioned by the governor of Catanduanes this afternoon, Mr. President. And the reason for the disruption of their water supply is only because of the disruption of power supply. So they are reliant on the availability of electrical power supply for the operations of the water district. And
another question. In this water supply, Is it operated under LUA or it's a local undertaking?
Operated by the water district, but I think LUA is the national government agency supervising the water district or supporting.
Sure that one of them or any one of them are listening now. I'm directing LUA to help go there and help repair the water system, have it function to function immediately. Wala tubig yung mga tao doon. Let it not be a thing just to be talking about. I want to know if there is somebody there already working on it. Well, that's about it. Thank you. Sino bang gusto magsalita?
Mr. President, Mon Lopez, DTI.
Again, identify yourself.
Mon Lopez po, DTI, Mr. President. Mon Lopez, DTI.
Hindi kita nakita. Matagal na, sir. Kaya nakalimutan ko na yung... Mon. Can you go ahead? Every table.
Thank you, Mr. President. This will be a brief report on presyo, yung impact din ng Typhoon Rolly sa mga micro SME and business establishments, but the action taken, Mr. President. Number one, on presyo, generally po, dahil po napakabilis din ng bagyo, except for a few, number of roads na affected, as reported by Secretary Villar. Generally, passable po yung mga roads, kaya ang flow of goods and services ay nag-resume po kaagad, and ang distribution po nagtuloy rin. At ang inventaryo naman ng mga groceries, supermarkets ho doon, karaniwan po ay mga 2 to 4 days. Ibig sabihin po, meron pong mga inventaryo kaagad. And therefore, generally, stable ang presyo. Stable prices dahil po stable naman sa ngayon ang supply of goods. Lalo na po dito po sa mga basic necessity and prime commodities. Meron din po tayong price freeze doon po sa na-declare na state of calamity as of today yung Cavite because of Typhoon Rolly. And last week lang, because of Typhoon Quinta, meron din pong mga declared state of calamity sa Albay, Batangas, Oriental Mindoro, Marinduque. At so yun po ay may mga price freeze din po sa mga lugar na yon. And then for the others not covered by price freeze, meron po tayong umiiral na suggested retail price system or SRP, kung saan ang mga presyo nakatakda na pagpunta sa groceries and supermarkets. At yun po mga presyo na yon ng mga basic necessity prime commodities, yung mga delata, instant noodle, kape, gatas. Since last year, September 2019, wala pong increase yung mga presyo na yon at hindi po talaga gumagalaw. Kaya stable po ang presyo pagdating po sa mga food manufactured products. Ang malikot lang po ang presyo dahil po sa supply and demand, yung mga agricultural products na nasa palengke. At nagtakda rin po ng SRP ang DA pagdating po sa mga agricultural products. Doon naman po sa mga business establishments, initial report po doon sa mga naapektuhan. Again, generally po, limited yung damages, almost all mga business establishment, except for doon badly hit areas like Catanduanes and some areas in Bicol, like Albay and Quezon, doon po yung may mga naapektuhang mga business establishment. Maganda rin po, so operational generally po, no? May maganda rin po nangyari kahapon dahil linggo. So nagkaroon na rin ng mga preemptive moves. In other words, maraming nag-declare ng half day or no work, kaya ho, o kaya maaga nagsara. Kaya ho, na protektahan yung mga empleyado doon at hindi na ho na masyado ring na-damage yung mga business establishment, except for yung nakita natin sa video na may isang mall na nasira sa Bicol na pinasok hanggang loob dahil may nabasag na salamin. Pero maliban doon, generally ho ay operational po ang business establishment today and especially starting tomorrow, today being a holiday. Except for those affected badly, lalo na dito sa Albay, Catanduanes, and Quezon, the rest are okay. Yung iba ho, affected pa ho ng power outages at i-report po mamaya ni Secretary Cusi. Yung mga power outages reported to me ay meron pa ho sa Albay, Catanduanes, Camarines Norte, Camarines Sur. Of course, isa-isa pong bumabalik ang power. Mare-report po ni Secretary Cusi. Number 3, lastly, yung actions taken. So ang DTI po, starting today, lumabas na ho yung mga tao rin natin at continuing yung monitoring ng supply, especially yung mga presyo. Kailangan ho walang gumalaw dahil ho wala rice freeze lalo na sa lugar na yon at yung SRP supposedly hindi gumalaw. Ang food manufacturing companies, kinausap na rin po natin to alert them to, again, replenish quickly yung mga inventaryo, yung mga supply ng produkto para ho hindi magkaroon ng kaguluhan or pagpapanik buying. Typically ho, usually ho, after mga calamities, tayo ho ay gumagawa ng diskwento caravan kung saan nagkakaroon ng mga paninda doon, ng mga basic necessity prime commodities na diskwento. Dahil ho, ka-partner natin ng mga private companies na gumagawa o nagmamanufacture ng mga produkto na to. At sinabay rin natin ang DA para ho dun sa mga agriculture products ho, para hong may bagsakan center din doon ng mga agriculture products at saka grocery products doon po sa naapektuhang lugar. Ang target po namin, ito yung action to be taken starting this week, 2 to 3 na diskwento caravan or 2 to 3 na LGUs covered per week. So para ho at marami hong maka-avail ng mga produkto na to at discounted prices. Other assistance provided, we always provide livelihood kits dun sa mga micro-entrepreneur na nawala ang paninda o naapektuhan talaga yung kanilang mga paninda, lalo na yung nasa palengke. Livelihood kits at saka microfinancing na meron pa rin ho tayo because of COVID-19. Kada-download lang po nung pondo, salamat sa DBM, at tuloy po yung ating microfinancing sa mga SME. Ito po yung kasama sa Bayanihan 2 na meron pong 4 billion na pwede hong ipautang ang DTI Small Business Corporation for MSMEs in general. At saka po another 6 billion para ho sa tourism kila Secretary Berna ng mga micro SME sa tourism sector. So 4 plus 6 billion po yon. Lastly po, we have talked to companies at saka yung mga hardware para yung construction materials makapagpadala ka agad doon. Kasama rin to sa ipoprovide na may diskwento para mapalitan yung mga naapektuhan ng mga bahay doon. Lalo na yung bubong, semento at saka bakal. Yun lang po, Mr. President. Magandang gabi po.
Salamat po for the report. Kasi wala na, I'd like to... Kasi... My general, my favorite general, Alcosi ba? Alcosi then Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. President. Starting last Friday po, nagkaroon na po tayo ng coordination meeting, lahat po ng industry players. This is the task force on energy resiliency that was formed during your administration. And we coordinated the steps and the actions that we are going to take. And I am happy to report to you that since Saturday evening, lahat po 24 hours monitoring, coordination, and response work were being undertaken. Sa ngayon po, kaninang umaga po, nag-report po ako dito at as of 6 a.m., sa areas po ng Batangas, Bulacan, Laguna, Cavite, Rizal, Metro Manila, there were 53,800 consumers or customers po, customers na wala pong kuryente. Kanina pong alauna, it went down already po to 33,000. And as of 6 p.m. today, it's down to 19,000. So the people on the field are working 24 hours, and hopefully this will be restored soon. Now, in Region 3, the Bicol area, the Albay, and Catanduanes, Masbate area, ang Masbate po, partly restored na po yun. Ang Catanduanes, Albay, Bicol area po, no, wala pa po silang kuryente doon. Totally wala pa pong kuryente because ang atin pong transmission line and distribution lines, no, that connect to the customers na sira po. And as of 6 p.m. today, there were two transmission lines. The transmission line from Tayabas to Naga and from Naga to Concepcion have been restored. And this will partly energize the Naga area. So, as a safety precaution naman po, sa power generation, nag-voluntary or intentionally shut down 2,199 megawatts or 6 power plants. Intentionally, they went on shutdown as a precautionary measures, but they are available. Ngayon po, doon sa mga dam na i-report kanina, all dams po, no, except for Ambuklao and for Binga. Hindi po tayo spilling operation po. Except for this Ambuklao and Binga, we are doing a spilling operation, regulated spilling operation po, but it will not cause any flooding. As reported earlier also, wala po namang naging damage sa mga dams. Dito po naman sa NPC, sa SPAG power plants, no? Dito po sa island provinces natin, wala pa kanina pong hapon, wala pa pong na-establish na communication to Catanduanes and Camarines Norte and Camarines Sur. But as reported kanina po ni Secretary Roque, meron na po, pero wala pa po akong natatanggap na report sa mga cooperatives po at sa mga distribution company. Sa Albay naman po, Masbate area, Romblon area, standby na po ang ating po mga genset to energize. Ganun din po sa Marinduque and Quezon area. Sa transmission line po, nasabi ko na po kanina, dalawa pong transmission line ang na-connecta na po, and that will partly power Naga. Sa distribution naman po, doon sa mga kooperatiba po natin, there are 45 cooperatives that are affected. Normal operation na po 25, and number of province affected po is 25. Ngayon, sa estimated damage that have been submitted by NEA, it's 2.8 billion po ang na-damage sa mga poste at sa mga linya. So, ando naman po dito sa atin po, dito sa Region 4A at saka dito po sa Metro Manila, 19,000 na lang po ang ating i-energize. Yun pong kaninang task force kapatid. Ano po itong task force kapatid po, ito ang bayanihan po ng mga different cooperatives where those unaffected cooperatives help to restore powers in the affected areas. Sumasama rin po dito sa task force kapatid na ito, including po yung mga distribution utilities like Meralco, Aboitiz Power of in Davao, no? Pumupunta po sila rito at nakikipagtulungan po. Now, on the oil supply po, meron po tayong enough supply in the affected areas, and based on the inventory report, it will last for 22 days. No, we have 22 days stock. And as reported also po by Secretary Lopez, nagpapa-effect po tayo sa petroleum products ng price freeze. Pero considering po nagpa-fluctuate ang price ng oil, and considering that last week po bumaba ang presyo ng oil sa international market, we're expecting the price of petroleum product this week to go down. So, but we are going to implement the price reduction, but no, we will not allow any price increase. Ngayon po naman, bilang po isang chairman po ng CORD, na-assign po ninyo ako bilang isang CORD chairman ng Region 4B, nabisita ko na rin po ang affected areas ng Typhoon Quinta. At sa Mindoro po, nagkaroon po tayo ng coordination meeting sa gobernador at different regional directors. At ang naapektuhan pong mga mangingisda na nasira po yung mga bangka at yung mga nawalan po ng bahay, nakapag-coordinate na po tayo kay Ed Gongona po ng BIFAR, kay Administrator Gongona, at kay Administrator June Escalada po ng NHA na para po matugunan ang pangangailangan po ng mga ngingisda at ng mga nasiraan ng bahay. Doon po sa damage po ng Quinta, dapat po sana restore na lahat ng power by Sunday, yesterday po, no? I visited the area last October 27 and we have given them 5 days to restore the power. But unfortunately, dinaanan na naman po sila ng bagyong Rolly. Kaya medyo maantala na naman po ang pag-restore ng power doon. But makakasa po kayo sa pagtutulong-tulungan po ng industry players ng energy, marirestore po natin ang power sa lalo madaling panahon. Yun lamang po, mahal na Pangulo, at maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Jose. May call on Roy Simato. Roy, Twitter.
Good evening, Mr. President. In compliance to your directive for initial investigation of complaints of some people there in Albay about quarrying, my initial investigation, Mr. President, that during the height of the storm, the typhoon, flood waters down the slope of the volcano fell down on the 3 rivers where 11 operators, quarry operators were operating, and some of these operators left their stockpiles in the middle of these rivers. Kaya nung bumaba yung tubig malakas, dala-dala yung lahar, pati yung mga stockpiles nila doon, boulders, ay kasama na. And the rivers, nagsolen yung river, umaabot doon sa mga residential houses sa bank of the river. 4 po ang namatay, 3 na crash at saka na-buried ng lahar and aggregates. Itong 11 permits na binigyan na itong quarry operators, binigay po ito ng provincial government. Sila kasi nagbibigay ng permits sa mga nagkwa-quarry doon. And because of this, Mr. President, I will still be continuing the investigation, finding out culpability itong mga permits na binigay ng mga operators nito. And at the same time, I directed the suspension of all these 11 or 12 operators, including suspending all quarry operations around the volcano habang mayroon pa itong mga sumusunod na mga siphons para naman ma-prevent na itong mga maaring mangyari uli. And at the same time, Mr. President, ay investigahan natin pati yung yung procedure nilang pagkwari, kasi dapat hindi nila ganyan linalagay yung kanilang mga stockpiles na doon sa river mismo, kasi nabawasan na tuloy yung volume doon sa pagbagsak pababa ng tubig sa ibabaw. So that's my report, Mr. President, kasi we were informed that you gave instruction for a probe on the quarrying operations in Albay. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Right, that is correct. Just before coming here, I came from Albay. Yung chopper ko, binaba ko sa ginubatan. And so I talked to the residents there. And ang complaint nila ganito. This is their agony. Every time there is a typhoon, there is always the danger, or it happens that the stones and the boulders and the lahar always go down the river and bring destruction to the habitation of people. Sabi nila, ulit-ulit na talaga to, and nobody cared to answer for this. I'm not blaming anything or anybody, whether it is really, ito kasing, it's also needed for constructions. When you build, you need these rocks and crushed rocks or whatever. Kaya, without really condemning the act itself of quarrying, I hope that, I was thinking that it should have the proper environmental clearance sana. So pag wala, then I think that you'll have to stop it. In the meantime, mayroon pa namang bagyo coming one after the other. In the meantime that we are suffering distractions, it might do well for them also to look for another site. Ganoon na lang.
Yes, Mr. President. In the meantime, I directed the suspension of these 12 operators, including the suspension of all quarrying around the volcano, lalo na ngayon tagulan. So, para ma-prevent ulit maaring mangyari ng ganito. Pangalawa, Mr. President, I told them to be very strict in the implementation of quarrying kasi hindi mo dapat pwedeng ilagay yung stockpile mo dito sa river itself kasi mabawasan na yung volume ng dumaan na tubig doon. So, dapat dito sa quarrying area talaga authorized na pwede. So in the meantime, I will suspend them and in fact, we have to close some of them kung culpable sila rito sa nangyari ito, Mr. President.
Okay, it's your decision. Sinong susunod, driver? Anybody? Kasi kung
Mr. President.
Yes.
Mr. President, good evening. Wendell.
May pera ka ba?
Ay,
Kung wala ka pera, huwag ka magsalita.
alam niyo, Mr. President, marami kasing nagtatanong kung may pera pa ba daw ang gobyerno sa gitna nitong mga kalamidad na kinakaharap natin. Gusto ko lang ipaalam, Mr. President, na ang estado po ng ating NDRRMF funds o yung tinatawag na National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Fund ay stands at 3.622 billion pa po after we have augmented this with 5 billion based on Bayanihan 2. Ang total po na budget ng NDRRMC for the year ay nasa 16 billion. At nagamit na po ang iba dyan, kaya nag-augment tayo. At base din po sa General Appropriations Act, ang mga sumusunod na mga departamento ay nilaanan ng tinatawag na Quick Response Fund. Ang DA po ay 1.5 billion, ang DepEd 2.1 billion, ang DOH 600 million, ang DPWH 1 billion, ang DSWD 1.25 billion, at ang National Electrification Administration 100 million. Ito po yung pinupunan natin pag na-deplete na at para nang sa ganun makasiguro tayo na at any given time kung may kalamidad ay makakapag-responde kaagad ito mga departamento nating to. At awa ng Diyos, sa pagkangayon pa po ay hindi pa naman kami nakakatanggap ng additional request galing sa kanila. Subalit we expect that in due time, hihingi sila ng dagdag dahil siguradong madideplete na rin yung pundo nila. At itong mga department na ito ay siguradong direkta lang nila sa akin dahil under the law, hindi na po kailangan na iakyat sa inyo at maaprubahan na po namin kaagad para madalian lang po. Yung bigger requirements po natin as a result of and the effects of Super Typhoon Rolly ay nandyan naman si Senator Bong. We will work this out with Congress kung paano po na matugunan nito dahil ongoing pa naman yung usapin about the 2021 national budget. Tingnan po natin kung po pwede pong magawa ng paraan and the Congress will understand the needs of our people in relation to the eventual passage and approval of the 2021 national budget po. So yan lang po muna sa ngayon. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Wendell. Anybody else? Kasi pag wala na, may gusto akong gawin. You know, may babasahin kasi ako. But before that, alam mo, ang tao kasi, alam nila na there's not enough to go around with money. Talagang kulang. There's no country in this world that has a surplus of money. Talagang meeting both ends meet because the needs of society, the needs for roads, the need for teachers, classroom, that patong ng patong yan. Every year, it increases and it is exponential ang gasto. Sabi nila minsan, under the mango tree ng kaklase, we've been correcting it and we're trying to still do it until now. Ang importante na kasi dito, Wendell, na malaman ng tao na may pera para dito ngayon, kunwari itong pangyayari ngayon, that there is money coming for them to use. Hindi sila maghirap, talagang stretching to the limit yung not only the money but the agony ang pag nila. So, kung alam lang nila na may pera tapos nagastos ito ng tama at dumating doon ito sa mga beneficiaries, yun naman kailangan nila. They know that there is money. Pinag-usapan natin ngayon, we have been transparent. Yan, sinabi mo. Now, that's good. That lahat nagsasabi, may pera itong departamento ko. For as long as we spend it for the purpose for which was intended to be appropriated. Ang tao walang Ang masakit sa taong bayan, yung alam nila na may pera na dapat para sa kanila, in this case, the assistance, tapos walang dumating at pinordoy, somebody goes out to embezzle or abscond with the money, yan ang masakit. Ngayon, may babasahin ako. And later on, may I just also address myself to Secretary Villar. Si Secretary Villar is an honest man. Not only that he is honest, he has money. Siya, may pera siya. And I do not question his integrity or loyalty. If not, bakit nandito pa ba siya sa cabinet? Meaning to say that kailangan ko siya. I need his expertise, his talent. Ang itong mga corruption, baski sinong administrasyon to, nandyan na gaya ng PhilHealth. Long before itong mga tao na ito na dumating dyan, nandyan na yan, capsulize ng corruption. One of them, gusto ko nga sabihin, mga kaibigan ko, may warning ako sa kanila. Sabi ko na they want to join government. Tapos sabihin ko, so what is your expertise, your engineering? So malagay ka dyan. So sinasabi ko, yung sa PhilHealth, ang mga kilala ko nilagay ko dyan, sinabi ko na bantay kayo dyan. Bantay kayo kasi delikado ang lugar na. I've been hearing so many stories about corruption sa PhilHealth. Na ito lumabas na ngayon sa ombudsman. They are suspended for 6 months. They are being investigated. And if there's enough evidence, they will be prosecuted in court. And eventually they will land in jail. And that could be a problem, not only for the family and everybody. But as my sworn duty, itong mga tao na ito, mga kilala ko yung iba, understand that I have a duty to perform, and that is to inform the public, lalo na itong PhilHealth. Ngayon, as of August 19, 2020, that's the dated order, itong mga tao na ito, suspended na and wala na sa PhilHealth. Number 1 is Roy B. Ferrer. Second is Celestina Maria Jude de la Serna. Third is Ruben Jan Basa. Fourth is Dennis S. Mas. And Shirley Domingo, Rodolfo del Rosario, Raul Cominic Badilla, Israel Pargas, Angelito Grande, Lawrence Mijares, Laila Tuason, Clementine Bautista, Eugenio Donatos. Another order coming out from the ombudsman, ganoon pa rin. Sanction is in suspension plus they are being investigated. Arnel De Jesus, Renato Limsiaco, Israel Francis Pargas, Gregorio Ruloda, then Imelda Trinidad de Vera Pe, Lolita Tuliao, Gemma Sibukaw, and Lailani Padua. Sa immigration, sinasabi ko sa inyo, uupakan ko. Sa immigration, Erwin Ortañez, number 1, Grifton Medina, Glenn Comia, Benlado Guevara, Daniv Bensol, De Leon Albao, Arlan Edward Mendoza, Anthony Lopez, Cecil Orozco, Dennis Robles, Bradford Allen So, Vincent Brian Alas, Rodolfo Magbuos Jr., German T. Ruben, Gabriel Estacio, Ralph Ryan Garcia, Paul B. Villanueva, Abdul Fahad Kalaka, Danilo Judor, Mark Macababad, Aurelio Lucero, George Bituin, Saluhodin Hajinor, Cherry Pie Recolcol, Chevy Chase Manion, Carl Jordan Perez, Abdul Hasif Ajis Basar, Jeffrey Dale Ignacio, Juan Carlos Gomez, Clint John Simen, Jason Abelde, ito, Clint Simene, Simene, Jason Abelde, Aslia Maruhon, John Christian De Villa, Jessica Salazar, Jessica Ann Salazar, Jennifer Timbresa, Robert Michael Sarmiento, Maria Victoria Hugno, Catherine Mendoza, Lawrence Aribontia, Paul Borja, Hamza Paco Pacasum, Manuel Sarmiento, Fidel Mendoza, and Dimple Mayumi Malyare. Ito yung mga tao na initially, the investigation is still going on. So, wala pa tayong na masabi na complete. And there is one guy, I've been really wondering, matagal na eh. He was working sa customs as a regular employee. But you know what? At the same time, he was working as a board member of DBP. Hindi ko talaga maintindihan ang kagago ng tao. I mean, so brazen ang... Para bang pagtingin nila talaga wala ng utak itong nakatingin sa kanila. So, he is out. I'm sure this guy will go to prison. If the case is pursued, maraming kaso to, sigurado. Patong ang kaso nito, from perjury to, falsification of public document, making false entries. Marami to. Hindi ko na lang basahin, sa customs, 20 na ang dismissed talaga. 4 ang suspendido, siguro iniimbestiga pa. 4 reprimanded lang. 135 investigated by the BOC Customs Intelligence and Investigation Service. So, iniimbestiga pa. 45 charged with administrative cases before the BOC and Legal Service. Now, dito sa administrative, hindi ako, I'm not satisfied. There has to be a law being as ganito charged with administrative, I'd like to call the customs na criminal pati administrative talaga. And dito sa ito namang sa PhilHealth na yung it's what I cannot understand. But I'm giving you only 3 days to process the paper. Itong check na ito, inold nila 1 million without any plausible reason why or any reason at all that is sensible. Wala. Ito yung parang trabaho nila, ayaw nilang trabaho. It's either indolence or stupidity. But Tagadabaw pa ito. Roger Tong-an, Kenneth Ronquillo, Laureano Cruz, Marlene Beltran, Esperanza Karating. Ito yung delay ng benefits sa PhilHealth. Hindi ito sindikato. Yung talagang it's almost criminal negligence yung gano'n. So, meron pa. The next round is will be by December. Many will lose their jobs. Many will be separated from government. Many will face prosecution. And many will go to jail. Yan ang para sabihin ninyo na sa pastillas, 40 na. Tapos dito, pinatawag ko sila. Di ba sabi ko noon, kung mahilig ka ng pera, papakain ko talaga sa'yo. Yan ako. Sa kabastos mo. You will eat money in front of me. Yan ang style ko. It is not nice. It is wrong. Could even be a criminal act, but just the same, I'll do it. Sabi ko sa inyo, itong pastillas, marami ito. Naabot ito ng mga 70. Wala pa ito, wala ka pa dyan, Art. Wala ka pa dyan, Mark. Nandiyan na yan sila, matagal na yan. Pero tayong pasahero noon, alam na natin. Kaya kami taga-probinsya, we travel almost with regularity, bakasyon, all Souls Day. Kaya nga ako nung nauwi, itong mga ugok naman sabi, wala ako. I was waiting for the typhoon to pass. Then lumipad ako. Napunta ako kanina sa kung wala kayong patay, okay lang. Kami may mga patay, kailangan umuwi kami doon sa amin. Pero ngayon, nandito na ako. Yung sabi na wala ako dito kasi wala sa probinsya. So, what's the problem? Ang mga papilis, pinadala ninyo dyan. Tapos, pirmahan ko, padala ko uli. Machine lang naman yan . So, di ba na wala ako nandito sa pagbagyo. Do you want me to stand doon sa White Sun ni Roy, si Mato? Just to show that I am here. Kaming lahat wala. Because by bagyo, ngayon, I was waiting for yung tail end ng bagyo. Then, lumipad ako. So yan, as I've said, I will dedicate the last 2 years or whatever is left of my term to fight corruption. Marami ito. Itong famous is customs. yung sa immigration, ang mga dyan, official, they are allowed 10 or 20 na pasok na walang Pero, siyempre, hihingi ng pera yan doon yan ang racket yan. Maski yung mga official dyan, well, I am excluding Jagger. Kaya ako nilagay siya dyan ni Sir Kingwell. Marami na siyang napaalis. I said corruption talagang hindi ko matanggap kasi pati kami dito damay lahat. Kaya nga, pagdating panahon, 2 generations from now, hindi man sabihin ng tao na ulitin ko, napaka-corrupt yung kay Ramos, corrupt kay Arroyo, corrupt kay... Wala. Ang sabihin yung dumaan ng panahon ni Duterte at Binitayon, napaka-corrupt. Dali kami lahat. Dali kami lahat. Ang tao, tingin sa amin, punta kami dyan sa kapihan. Cabinet member yan, siguro, mayaman na yan. Well, let me cut the belief. Pakita ko talaga sa inyo na kukulong ko yun. Marami ito. So, idagdagan ko pa yan. Itong mga alam mo, totoo lang, itong mga tao dito harap ko, cabinet member, most of them ayaw magtrabaho sa kabinete. So it was a great... si Defense Secretary, nandoon na ito sa Amerika. Pinapabalik ko, ayaw. I'm okay here. Sabi ko, kaibigan tayo, kailangan matulong, bumalik ka. Roy Simato, retired na yan. Pag-landing ko sa Leyte, nandoon, sinalubong niya ako. Leyte, Antique. Sabi ko sa kanya, bakit ka nandito sa heartland ng Ilonggo, ng Ilocano ka man? Sabi niya, taga dito yung asawa ko. Sabi ko, pero alam ko na, nakita ko na, walang araw. Talaga kasi may tiwala ko. Pero itong mga tao na ito, si Roy, wag na, retire na ako. Enjoy na lang kami. So, Secretary Espero, sabi na, tatakbo ka pa ba? Tatakbo ka, kakampanya na lang kami. Kasi we have our political affiliations or predilections, if you want to use the word. So, yun. I hope we have explained to the people what we have done to meet the challenges of the moment. And I hope that you have clearly understood that the money that we are spending will be really spent for the people. And we will hold ourselves accountable for it. So huwag kayong mag-alala-alala. Tatrabaho tayong lahat. Maraming salamat po. Ito si Roy, Dr. Roy. Ikat po na wala na.
developing stories in the country and around the world. Numbers, facts, insightful analysis, and context on information for a better perspective. The latest news and issues that are relevant to today's times. Get a rundown of it all every night. Only on PTV News Tonight. Sa muli nating pagpasok sa ating mga opisina, narito ang ilang mga gabay pangkaligtasan upang masugpo ang paglaganap ng COVID-19. Hikayatin ng lahat na laging magsuot ng face mask at face shield sa loob ng tanggapan. Ipatupad ang tamang physical distancing. At iengganyo ang malimit na paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng disinfectant. Paalalahanan ng lahat na laging i-disinfect ang kanilang mga workstation at huwag mag-share ng mga personal na kagamitan. Hinihikayat din ang mga malalaking kumpanya na magbigay ng shuttle service sa mga manggagawa at magtakda ng minimum health standards sa loob ng sasakyan. Siguruhin na may sapat na ventilasyon sa loob ng opisina at mga shuttle service. At magtakda ng mga smoking area na may divider o individual booth. Dapat din mag-conduct ng mga webinar o training para sa COVID-19 prevention ang Occupational Safety and Health Committee ng tanggapan. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Pilipinas, harapin natin ang umaga na puno ng saya! Dala namin ay impormasyong siguradong patok sa masa at mga mahalagang balitang mainit-init pa para sa inyo. Kasama ang bago mong barkada tuwing umaga. Rise and Shine, Pilipinas! Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 7 ng umaga. Dito lang sa PTV. Ang mga hinaing na inyong itinawag sa opisyal na linya ng pamahalaan, patuloy naming tutugunan at bibigyang aksyon. Ang inyong mga tanong, sabay-sabay nating hahanapan ng kasagutan kasama ang iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno. Dahil sa gitna ng laban na kinakaharap ng buong bayan, narito pa rin ang programang handang makinig sa boses ng bawat mamamayang Pilipino. Digo 8888 Hotline. Kasama si Asek Chris Roman, Trixie Jaafar at Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo. Dito lang sa PTV. Handog namin sa inyo para sa bayan.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Ang nakaraan sa Laging Handa Docu.
Nag-uumpisa sa alas 7, natatapos alas 12 ng gabi.
Walang pahinga.
Walang pahinga. Even Sundays, holidays, tuloy-tuloy yung trabaho natin.
Ang importante ngayon is matuto na tayo na mamuhay na merong COVID-19.
Kada tent na to, merong 75 cubicles.
Yes, sir.
And these cubicles are well equipped.
Ito, pwede kang lumabas, no? Pwede kang magpa-araw, pwede kang maglakad-lakad sa labas, may fresh air. Napakalaking bagay din para sa mental health ng ating mga kababayan na magkakasakit.
Alam mo yung siguro sa eagerness na makatulong tayo sa mga kababayan natin na nangangailangan. Kaya para makatulong na rin. Pag uuwi ka sa pamilya mo, masabi mo na, yung proyekto ko talagang